All right, well, welcome to class 10. We're going to be talking about men's health, not women's health, because I switched with Vaughn last week, being out of town. And so, yeah, I missed some of you guys. I was in Florida doing some training from natural health through a guy, Dr. Robert Morse, and so that was super exciting. Got to see some awesome weather and learn some really cool things. Dr. Robert Morse has been practicing for like 43 years on healing people naturally and just knows so much information. So got my mind blown a little bit, and as I continue to learn about the body and all the cool things that God created to help heal us and how we can partner with God in our health and in every area of our life. So anyway, so that was a blessing, but I'm back and excited to be talking about class 10 and men's health. And yeah, I'm going to be going through a lot of different herbs at the end. I'm going to talk about kind of the basics of stuff to begin with. And but a lot of the herbs, I was talking to a few of you before, I'm going to be talking about them in the perspective of herbs that are good for men, but a lot of them are great for women and stuff too. It's not like it only works for men or it does something specifically for men, although they do have, they're known for their powerful effects for men and the men's glandular system and all that, but a lot of them can be used for women too. I'm just not talking about a lot of the female benefits of them in this class. But yeah, as you guys know, I mean, men and women were created very differently from the beginning. If it isn't obvious by some of the physical stuff, but you know, as men we have prostate glands, we have testes, we have things that are very different and cause different needs and different hormone level balances than women do, than females do. So yeah, and I don't need to go into all the details, but it's pretty obvious. A lot of the issues that men face today, I've got written out here in paragraph B. But yeah, I mean, it's getting pretty bad, and you used to see it a lot more in the older men. Lower energy, their hormone balances are low, they have low libido, not able to keep muscle very well, their muscles are deteriorating, they're losing their strength, but it's starting to happen younger and younger and younger. It used to be just people's in their 50s and 60s and up, and now it's 40s, 30s, even guys in their 20s. You know, their hormone levels are all out of whack, and it's causing emotional and depression and low energy, and you can't build muscle and no sexual desire, and so there's a certain balance of everything that God designed us to be functioning at, and if it is, you're full of energy, you're full of vitality, you're full of everything you need to have at the right levels. But yeah, a weakened male system can look like general body weakness or fatigue, low ambition, low energy. Yeah, I know it's sad, but I know a lot of guys that experience a lot of these things. They're just like not excited about life at all, and low energy and weak, and yeah, I mean, can experience premature ejaculation, lower excessive sex drive. It can manifest as both, depending on how the hormones are out of balance. Adrenal weakness, and I'll talk about how that's tied into this, because it might sound adrenal weakness. How is that affected to men's health? But anemia, depression, definitely hormone imbalance and how that can affect things. Lack of endurance. Prostatitis is the inflammation of the prostate. So many men, you know, it's becoming one of the bigger cancers now, in especially men. It's prostate cancer. As the prostate gets more and more inflamed, creates cancer, and it's killing a lot of men, unfortunately, and it could definitely be stopped. So frequent urination based on the inflammation of the prostate and that putting pressure on the bladder and the urethra. So I'm going to go just briefly through a couple of the systems of us men, kind of break it down a little bit before I get into the herbs so you guys can understand the full picture a little bit. But the prostate gland, this is an important part of the male reproductive system a lot of people don't know about, but yeah, it's called kind of a clam-shaped gland that surrounds the bladder of the urethra. It's partly muscular tissue and partly glandular tissue. The glands are exocrine and have ducts that open up into the prostate portion of the urethra. The prostate's got several different functions, but one of the main ones is secreting a thin fluid that is part of men's semen and used for lubrication and sperm mobility, that type of stuff. But it produces some hormones and things too. It's just really common, especially with high and out of balance hormones, that it is inflamed, and inflammation is bad. we talked about some of the roots of all diseases in some of the earlier classes are acidosis, which causes inflammation, as well as toxicity and other things. But testosterone, and I'll get into it more later, but testosterone is a very aggressive hormone. Same with estrogen. You know, these hormones cause change. They're very aggressive. They're very acidic. So they cause inflammation when they're out of balance and not balanced with the opposite stuff like progesterone and other things, and corticosteroids produced by the adrenal glands. So when testosterone is way too high and it's not being able to be balanced out by the progesterone and the corticosteroids produced by the adrenal glands, the inflammation grows rampant and nothing to put it out. I talked about before with inflammation of the body. When you're acidic and you have inflammation, you need to be eating the right foods to be in an alkaline state. But one of the main things your body uses to fight that is corticosteroids produced by the adrenal glands. So when the adrenal glands aren't able to do that, it's like a fire raging in your house and the firemen are on vacation. Nobody to put out the fire, nobody to put out the inflammation. Because that's what those corticosteroids are for, to buffer that inflammation. So that's what's happening a lot with the men's prostates, is hormones are out of balance, too much testosterone, not enough progesterone, and then you also have the adrenals not being able to buffer that like they're supposed to. So now going to the testes. Obviously male have testes. They're two oval-shaped little glands, part of our reproductive glands, and a part of the endocrine gland system. They produce sperm. Obviously everybody knows that, but they also produce testosterone, and inhibin. So I'm not going to break all these down, but yeah, like I said, testosterone is a very aggressive. If you guys have ever known or heard about the bodybuilders that are taking synthetic testosterone, and they're angry and they're aggressive and they're overly, because they're way out of balance. But that's what testosterone does, and we need testosterone, but we need it in the right amounts and we need it balanced with the other things. And so herbs do that, and they're awesome. They don't force anything. They don't give you something. They nourish your glands in your system to produce at the level they're supposed to. That's what I love about the herbs. Yeah, and a little note in here about the adrenal glands and how if they're not functioning properly, they can't put out that inflammation, so it grows rampant and causes big-time issues. But just a little bit about testosterone. It is so important, and when you're low on testosterone as a man, you're low on energy, you're low on sex drive, and all sorts of things. It's needed for hundreds of functions in the body, but it accelerates growth, cellular function, stimulates blood flow. Yeah, it helps the body synthesize protein better. That's why these guys that are bodybuilding want to take testosterone. It's anabolic. It's growth, like it stimulates growth, and it helps synthesize protein better. So you can take protein and you'll be able to absorb it and utilize it way better with testosterone. But again, if you're in the right balance, you have enough of that. And I put a little note in here. It's very important. You never want to give the body something that it should be producing itself. I don't know if you guys have heard stories about these bodybuilders that are taking synthetic testosterone. They might feel great for a little bit and be bulking up. What happens when they stop? Bad stuff. And while they're taking it, their testes shrink. They get atrophied. Basically, the body says, we got plenty of testosterone. We don't need to produce any. We're going to shut down. Why would I need to produce any more if it's way enough and rampant in the body? And so you weaken the gland, atrophy it, so when they come off of it, a lot of times they lose all their muscle, get into worse shape, lose all their energy, and they're freaking out because they don't know what's happening.
Scary.
It is. It's scary stuff, and there's so much hormone replacement therapies out there for women and men, and it's scary business. You never want to do that. You want to nourish the body, and if you give it the things that God created, you'll nourish the body, you'll nourish the glands, and they'll produce at the level they're supposed to. The testosterone is not supposed to be way up here, but it's supposed to be in an optimal range, and it's probably said that 80-90% of men are not producing at the level they're supposed to. And if they are producing, a lot of times, like I said, it's the opposite ones that aren't balancing it out and the adrenals aren't working to balance it out, which is causing an issue. You might not have high testosterone, but if you're not balanced with the other ones, that causes issues, that causes inflammation. So the reproductive system works hand in hand with the glandular system. I've talked about the endocrine gland system, and the testes are part of the endocrine gland system, but they work hand in hand. You know, the pituitary is the master gland. It controls all the other glands. So if it's not functioning properly, it's not able to tell the other ones how much hormones to produce. And like I said, how important the adrenal glands are for buffering that. So if those glands aren't working properly, it throws everything else out of whack. It's nice to have a container that keeps my stuff warm. I can drink warm tea all day. So yeah, your glands are the bosses. They're the like the computer of your body telling them what to do. So having a healthy reproductive system and glandular system as a man starts first with your diet. Of course, we always talk about that. Going back to how God created us, what foods He designed for the body, and how did He design them for us to eat them. You know, He might have designed, let's say, a fruit off of the tree, but He didn't design that to be cooked and processed and denatured and the enzymes killed and it denatured down to something else. You know, then it's missing all the things that He created it with. It should be eating in its whole food form and raw, ideally. So, yeah, that's the way God created things. He created them perfect. It's got the fiber. It's got the nutrients, the vitamins, the minerals, the enzymes, the phytochemicals. They're water rich all together. You take that and you process it, you heat it, you cook it, you whatever, all the things they do to it today, you get something that's not natural anymore. And your body a lot of times goes, what the heck is that you're feeding me? I don't even know. And has an immune response because it says we got a foreign invader in the body. And they've done tests saying that. When you cook certain foods, you eat processed foods, you have an immune response to it because your body doesn't recognize it. It wasn't designed to recognize a cheeseburger, Cheerios, a candy bar. But you give it an apple, a banana, celery, cucumber, it's like, oh, I know what that is. I know what to do with that. And it has everything that you need. So we need to get back to partnering with God, like we always talk about first, in eating the foods that He created and trying to do the best job we can of finding high quality foods, buying organic if we can, eating them in their whole food form. And it's exciting. The more and more I do it every year, I find different ones that I really like. I'm finding new fruits, finding new vegetables, finding new ways to combine things. And you don't need all the spices and this and that. You need to cook them and add oils. And I mean, every once in a while I'll do some cooked food. But it's so exciting and so you feel so good and so energetic and so full of life when you're eating these foods that are the way He created them. So that's first and foremost. Yeah, a living raw food diet energizes the glandular system, the gonads of men. A raw food diet is also very anti-inflammatory to all the tissues of the body. So we talked about inflammation and specifically for the prostate for men, but inflammation in general, if you're eating these cooked foods, processed foods, sodas, all the standard American stuff, you're very highly acidic. And your body can't put that out, especially you team that with a weakened adrenal glands, and your body's really freaking out. And that's what's going on in our society today. So you eat these nutrient-rich, alkalizing foods, it nourishes the glands, it alkalizes, it brings things back to balance. It's a process for everybody, and everybody's in a different spot along that road. And it takes time to... You know, if you've damaged the body, like I know I have in the past, processed foods for years, high meat, high dairy, alcohol abuse for years, you know, it takes time to regenerate. But I'm telling you, it gets better and better and better when you do that. So then, yeah, I'm going to get into the herbs, but using these medicinal herbs, they're cleansing, they're regenerating, they strengthen the body, they rejuvenate the reproductive and the glandular system. They're very powerful for reducing inflammation, specifically in the prostate. I'll talk about the ones that are good for that, and energizing all the systems of the men, the male systems. And I love the herbs because you go to your grocery store today and find a lot of the fruits and vegetables, and a lot of them have been hybridized, changed. There's genetically modified foods. A lot of them in your grocery store are very different from the way they were originally created. But you go back to the herbs, the botanicals, they're the non-hybrid vegetables that have more of the the created intelligence in them. They've not been altered as much, thank God. And therefore they have higher energetics, they have higher medicinal properties because they're more exactly the way God created them, as opposed to an apple today. Still good for you, but they've hybridized it and changed it, and it's a little bit different than it was initially created. And that's why the herbs are so powerful, and a lot of them are almost tissue specific in the ones that they go and they help with. All right. You guys ready to hear about some herbs? I love the herbs. I fall more and more in love with them and using them, and I found so much benefit from them myself and seen them affect people in a powerful way. So herbs for men. I started out with deer antler. Not really an herb per se, but it's been used medicinally for, I don't even know, I think they have records going back 3,000 or 5,000 years of the Chinese using deer antler. They realized a long time ago these deer grow these antlers every year. It's like growing a leg for us. Every year. It happens so quickly. And sometimes at a rate of up to 2 centimeters a day. I mean, so they said, wow, if there's something in there that's causing them to be able to grow that quickly, what if we take that and we consume it? Could it possibly give us the ability to grow and rejuvenate quickly? And the Chinese I don't know, they were just intuitive like that. Today we do scientific tests on it and we know why. It's got all these growth factors and I don't know, you could look at the scientific stuff and it's miles long of all the things in deer antler and how it can rejuvenate, rebuild the whole system. It just accelerates growth, healing, rejuvenating. So you can imagine energy levels, sexual function, people's skin looks better, their hair grows thicker, I mean, you name it, athletic performance. I took it for a while when I was training for track. I did some track competitions for a while. And yeah, I noticed my energy levels are higher. I can work out harder. I'm not as sore. I'm recovering quicker. I mean, it's powerful stuff. And they do it in a way some people are concerned about, don't hurt the deer. And I'm all for not hurting the animals if we don't need to. And they don't. The people that are really doing this the right way and the people that we get deer antler from, they have a facility where it's a big outdoor facility. They take care of the animals. They let them run free. They feed them. They protect them from harmful animals that are trying to kill them too. And then once a year they bring them in. They numb right around the antler and they cut part of the antler tip off and let them go free. Doesn't hurt them at all. So we're not harming the animals. We're just taking a little part of and it's the tip of the antler that's the most potent. So that's really all they're going for. They take that and they freeze dry it and then they make extracts and things out of it. But yeah, so I wrote I'm not going to talk about everything here, but yeah, muscle building, blood building, athletic performance, lean muscle. These are all things that guys want. We want to be stronger. We want more muscle. We want more energy. Boost the whole endocrine system. Improves libido, sexual function, anti-aging, all that kind of stuff. So deer antler is powerful stuff. It is a little bit more on the expensive side compared to some other herbs because it's natural. You can only get it one time a year and there's only a certain supply of it. But it is probably, if I were to pick one thing out of everything, deer antler would be top of the list because its effect on everything. Yeah, and then ginseng, and I just put all ginsengs because there's different types. I've talked about Panax ginseng, American ginseng, Siberian ginseng. They all have similar effects, and all of them are extremely good for everybody, but especially men. I don't know if I mentioned this in a past class, but there's a guy that he died in the earlier 1900s. He's a Chinese guy, and he was reported to be 256 years old. I know it sounds crazy, but I I've heard about it from different sources and then researched it. And so the Chinese government actually says that he, looking at records and everything, that he was 256 years old. The guy claimed to be born at a different time and claimed he only was 197 years old. Either way you cut it. He was extremely old, and there's a lot of people that are living way longer than we think that they don't want us to know about because, anyway, but yeah. And so his big things that he said, of course, guy that lives this long, and it wasn't that long ago, this wasn't 10,000 years ago. This was in the, like, I don't know, he died in the 1930s, 1940s, something like that. Some of the biggest things he said is, I drank ginseng tea every day, several times a day, and I ate food that was all grown above the ground. And the higher from the ground, the better. That's just what he said. So usually you get into the stuff that's more starchy under the ground, and more the fruits and different things above the ground. So that's just what he said. But ginseng's been known as a rejuvenator, longevity. And so the man drank it every day and 3 to 4 times a day sometimes. So that could be a big, powerful reason. But yeah, very powerful for the endocrine glands, especially the adrenal glands. We talked about how those are involved. Boost sexual function, immune system. I mean, you name it with ginseng. Ginseng is the #1 studied herb in all of history, and is promoted for the most benefits. Panax ginseng is probably the most powerful. That's the true Chinese ginseng. Panax, Panax. And we carry a white Panax ginseng powder. But the American ginseng is pretty good. There's a Korean red ginseng. I mean, there's all sorts of ginsengs. And they all have similar properties. Just the Panax ginseng is like the true original one that they've studied and used for the longest time. So I love ginseng. Maca, another one of my most favorite herbs. Some of you guys know. I love my maca. I learned about it years ago when I was in athletics, and people were talking about how it improves your athletic performance and improves recovery, and there's good protein in it, and it balances your hormones and gives you more energy, and my gosh, it did it all for me too. I loved it, and I love the taste. It's kind of got a butterscotchy, kind of nutty taste. You combine that with some chocolate, like, I mean the good chocolate, raw cacao powder, it just tastes amazing. So I love maca. I used to take it before and or after workouts. It's great. It's called the Peruvian ginseng. It's not actually a ginseng, but because it has a lot of similar effects on the endocrine glands, normalizing function. One of the biggest things is its effect on the endocrine gland system as a whole, and it normalizes hormone levels. So it's been shown if somebody's too high in something, it brings them down. If they're too low, it brings them up. That's intelligence as opposed to a pharmaceutical. You take something from a drug, it forces an action on your body, whether your body wants it or not. And intelligence, like God created in these herbs, it takes it and it knows what to do depending on the person. Sometimes an herb can be stimulating. It can stimulate you with energy. And other times you could take it and it'll like relax you. Depends on what you need and depends on what's going on in your body. That's crazy. Like sometimes we have a hard time as intellectuals in our minds, like understanding how can that work? How does it work? Like we want to know A plus B equals C. And it doesn't always work that way with God. And with the things he created, but it has intelligence, and that's what's awesome about him. But maca is extremely powerful for balancing hormones. So for men, it's known to increase testosterone levels, but again, it doesn't force the increase of testosterone. But most men are low on testosterone, so it does increase testosterone. It's been proven to do that. But for women, maca's great for women too. Does the same things, balances their hormones, works on the endocrine gland system. Yeah, and it's loaded with nutrients. It's considered a superfood. It's very high in protein, high in B vitamins, and a lot of minerals. I didn't have the time in this type of class to break down and really tell you everything an herb does, but just giving you the key points of each one. Nettles. Nettles might be surprising to some people that I put it on the list for men. It's a highly nutritive herb. It's very alkalizing. I've talked about it in other classes because it's been known traditionally, one of the main things it's been known is to treat allergies. Naturally treat allergies. It has different things in it that fight allergies naturally, and it's a great tea that you can make, and it's super nutritious, super alkalizing, good for the thyroid glands, good for the joints, good for removing inflammation. But the reason I put it in here for men is because they've done a lot of tests, and it's been clinically proven that it helps keep testosterone in the free form. Some people don't know what that means because it gets pretty technical, but when people are low on testosterone, what they're really saying is they're low on free testosterone. So what happens is your body produces testosterone, and then you have different things that bind to it, change its structure, allow it not to be used by the body like it was designed to. So, and I don't fully understand all the things. I'm not a super detailed guy, but A, you're not producing enough, and then you got other things that are binding with it, and the estrogenic foods and plastics and pesticides that affect that and bind to those hormones so that we can't even use them. So Nettles stops that binding and allows them to be in their free form longer. So there's some formulas, and I'm going to talk about, I don't normally talk about products that we have because I'm not here to push products. I'm just here to educate people and to help them. But we have such awesome products I couldn't help in this class, especially for men, because there's some that I've taken that just are awesome for the endocrine gland system. We have some products that include Nettles with some of these other awesome herbs in one formula that helps do it all. And I'll talk about those at the end. Saw palmetto berry. Saw palmetto berry has been known for a long time as the male herb. It's most well known for its anti-inflammatory properties and healing, especially on the prostate gland. Again, that's one of the main issues with men that they have, is this inflammation with the prostate. And we talked about some of the reasons why, but I mean, saw palmetto berry, another one, is great for a ton of things. All the endocrine gland systems, thyroid, adrenals. I mean, somebody asked before class, saw palmetto berry. It's always known to help with men and their prostate, but can women take it? Of course they can. And it's not gonna, you're not gonna grow a prostate. It's not gonna mess you up. It's actually really powerful for women too. It just happens to be when the man, again, the intelligence in it. A man takes it and it goes, oh, will affect the endocrine gland system, the prostate, you know, and in women it affects differently, but very powerful in the endocrine gland system. It's loaded with nutrients. Very powerful for the adrenal glands. It's very useful for urinary tract infections. Again, the anti-inflammatory properties. And also aids in sugar metabolism because of its effect on the pancreas and the adrenal glands. So saw palmetto berry is a great one. It's considered an adaptogenic herb. Again, one of those that you take and it helps your body adapt based on what it needs. But one of the top ones for male prostate inflammation. And a lot of people know that, but they just think saw palmetto, male prostate. But again, it's got hundreds of uses for it. Faux tea. It's also known as being called he shou wu. It's crazy. I looked up some stories about this herb because I had known for a long time that the nickname of it came from a guy that would use it, and it would keep his hair from graying and his hair from falling out. And it was actually a guy that was imprisoned when he was young, and this plant grew into his cell, and he would eat it every day. And it didn't matter how old he got. I don't remember how old he got, but he got old, and when most people were graying and losing their hair and this and that, his hair never grayed and never lost it, and they attributed a lot of it to the effects of this. And now they've studied it and shown that that's a big benefit of it. It's a very powerful. It's one of the Chinese major longevity herbs, and it helps your body stay healthy. And one of the effects is it can help your hair from graying, or it can reduce. It can reverse the graying hair. I'm not saying you're going to take a little bit of this for a week or two and all your gray hair is going to go away, but it can definitely help that. But very powerful for the adrenal glands, endocrine glands, strengthens the whole body, modulates hormones. Again, it's a hormone balancer. It is known, and it stands out as one of the top fertility herbs and building sexual power in men and women. So again, another great one that you can take consistently for a long time. Pumpkin seed oil. Pumpkin seed oil is also known for prostate health. The reason being is a lot, but it's very high in minerals. I mean, pumpkin seeds by themselves are just super nutritious. You just eat them and they're great for you. But they can concentrate it out and squeeze the oil out of them, and it's way more potent for the men factor. It's especially high in zinc. And so when you take the organs of the body, and they know like adrenal glands need a lot of vitamin C, and you can actually take an adrenal gland out and it's like got super high concentrations of vitamin C, so it needs that. Prostate is zinc. You take one of the highest concentrations of zinc in the body is in the prostate. It needs zinc to function properly and to buffer the acids. But yeah, I mean, it's great for a lot of things. It's got high source of magnesium, all sorts of other minerals. It's a great plant source of omega-3s. We always think of omega-3s as only being fish oils. But wouldn't you know it, they're in plants too. And this is one of them. So plant-based omega-3 oils, very good for blood pressure, boosting immune function, cell growth, sleep, mood, eye and skin health, insulin regulation, very good for male sexual function. And again, the main thing that everybody thinks about, or one of the main benefits to men, is the reducing inflammation in the prostate. Cordyceps mushrooms. I know I've talked about this several times because it's like such an awesome herb, and I only learned about it like a year ago. It's crazy. Can't believe it's something I didn't know about for longer, because it used to be really rare. So Cordyceps mushrooms in nature, it grows on, it's a fungus, and it grows on other insects and kills them eventually. I know it sounds crazy, but especially like these specific type of caterpillars, the fungus will infect that caterpillar and end up taking it over and killing it, and then it'll grow a little mushroom off of that. So way back in the day, like emperors and kings and stuff, they were the only ones that could afford it because it was so rare to find these. And I don't know how the Chinese or whoever did it ever figured out, oh, let's just eat this mushroom on this caterpillar and see what happens. But I don't know, they figured it out that it had crazy longevity benefits. And so therefore it was so rare that when people would find it, it would be so expensive to buy it because they knew the power of it. And the only ones that could afford it were like the royalty, and they would use it and just rave about the benefits of it. Today, they've done all sorts of tests and, again, confirmed what people have known for thousands of years on how powerful it is. But yeah, it's one of the most prized immune-boosting, energy-enhancing, all sorts of adaptogenic properties. One of the main things that they've been known for is increasing cellular oxygen absorption. Some studies up to 40%. So you think about the things that the cells need of the body, the main things. They need carbon for fuel, and they need oxygen. So some of the main two things. So when you increase your body's uptake of oxygen, you nourish all cells way more. So it's funny because I'm big in athletics too, and have been. And so back 10 or 15 years, the Chinese, they had this round at the Olympics, and these runners, all on the same Chinese team, and they broke like several world records. And they're like, what's going on with these Chinese? We're going to test them and bust them for steroid use or illegal performance enhancing. Well, they couldn't find anything with them. Tested them, couldn't find anything. Well, it came out that, they ate healthy, they ate natural foods, but they used a lot of herbs, and one of the main ones they used, Cordyceps mushrooms. They use several others like ginseng and stuff, but yeah, one of the main ones they attributed said, we just have a lot of Cordyceps mushrooms, and they're distance runners. So you increase oxygen absorption, they're blowing everybody out of the water. People don't even know what's going on. I've given it to cyclists, bicycle people that bike for miles and miles and miles, and they'll come back, oh my gosh, I took it for a while, and I had way more endurance and stuff. And so yeah, it's powerful, but boosts endocrine gland function, hormone production, enhances erectile function, increases libido, sperm motility, which is the movement of they sometimes have sperm that they say are lazy. I don't know how that really happens, but anyways, a lot of these things increase sperm motility to have them more mobile for fertility. Increases the release of testosterone, and very good for blood circulation. So Cordyceps, very powerful. Today, they don't grow it on insects, just so you know. You're not buying it from a dead insect or something. They take the fungus and they implant it in other things and grow it, so it's different today. But it's still the same powerful thing. They inject it into like rice patties and different things and grow it out of that. So they can grow it at a way higher rate, so it's a lot cheaper, and you're not eating a dead insect or something weird like that. Some people do ask that question, like, is it still like from a caterpillar? And I'm sure it is in nature, but a lot of the ones you get on the market today are from, different ways. Ashwagandha. Learned about ashwagandha years ago, and it's known as Indian ginseng. And Ayurvedic medicine is the main natural health healing modality in India. They're huge on ashwagandha. It's probably one of their top couple herbs. And it literally means the grounded strength of a stallion. And if you're a man, that should excite you. Like, I don't know, that just makes me make me into a warrior, a grounded strength of a stallion. I love horses because they're so muscular and strong and finesse, and they're amazing, yeah. Side note, but some guys talk about, because I'm big on a plant-based diet and a raw food diet, and believe that getting closer to that is the highest source. And so when I used to be in athletics, I would do the standard American stuff and eat high meat, high carbs, high this, and lo and behold, years later, I started having some issues and high blood pressure. But so men don't think that they can grow muscle without eating meat. I had to prove that wrong to myself, and then learning how plants are a great source of protein. But you think of a horse. What does a horse eat? Does he eat meat? Nope. He eats plants, and he's strong as can be. A gorilla, does he eat meat? Does he eat other gorillas? Does he kill other animals? No. Strong as can be. Some of the strongest animals out there, they don't eat meat. They eat plants. So, just a little side note. But yeah, ashwagandha. It's great for, a lot of people know about it for the immune system too. It's known to increase white blood cell count, but it's one of those great adaptogenic herbs that has tons of different functions. Again, great positive effect on the endocrine gland system, cardiovascular system, central nervous system, physical strength, endurance, brain function, brain flow. It's not a stimulating herb like ginseng is a little bit more stimulating. You wouldn't want to take in the evening necessarily, especially like a Panax ginseng is very stimulating. Ashwagandha, on the other fact, it has the adaptogenic properties, but it's more of a calming herb. You can take it at night, and some people say it helps them sleep. But it's said to impact sexual health, increasing fertility, sperm count, boosting libido, so some stuff there related to men. So pine pollen and bee pollen, these things are pretty fascinating, especially the bee pollen. They're slightly different. They both come from pollen. The bee pollen is actually the bees going into several different flowers, and then I don't know exactly how they get it from their mouth and stuff, but they're somehow adding to the pollen, something from their mouth and saliva, and it sounds really weird, but scientists have tried to, the bees take this pollen back to their nest and feed it to the babies, and that's their food. Scientists have studied the bee pollen and narrowed it down every mineral, vitamin, enzyme, and then they've scientifically created the same exact thing with all the same vitamins, minerals, enzymes, everything that they can detect, feed it to the baby bees, and they die. There's something with the bee pollen that we don't even know how to figure out yet. And when you study bee pollen, it's one of the most nutritionally dense things on the planet in one single source. It's crazy. So and then the pine pollen is a little bit differently, but yeah, just going more on bee pollen. I mean, it's used by tons of bodybuilders, Olympic athletes for strength, endurance, all sorts of stuff. It's got 22 amino acids, which are all in free form, so you're readily absorbable. You don't need to digest them. It's loaded with vitamins, minerals. I mean, it's so just dense in everything. Super high in B vitamins. And then pine pollen is specifically from the pine trees. And what they found with the pine pollen is it's very similar, super nutritive, all that stuff. But it has a little bit higher levels of the plant sterols than the bee pollen. And what that means to men is when we take plant sterols, it's like the plant's hormones. So it's not like taking a hormone because it's from a plant. You ingest it and your body takes that and converts that to hormones it needs. So it allows your body to produce hormones more effectively, more efficiently. So it's known to almost, you take like a liquid extracted pine pollen and almost immediately your body's producing higher levels of testosterone. So it increases testosterone. It's a hormone precursor. It balances, and I always talk about raising, but again, it's also balancing the ratio of estrogens to androgens in the body. But so many people are low that it's a very powerful way to help your body boost the testosterone levels. In pine pollen, you can get it in powder form, but the tincture liquid is more potent for the androgenic effects for men. And it can be taken by women, and it's not going to, it's way beneficial for women too. And again, it doesn't force any action. It just helps your body produce more efficiently. Tribulus, widely used to enhance sexual function in both men and women, treat erectile dysfunction. Again, another one that's really popular for boosting testosterone levels, increasing sex drive, performance, sperm production. Athletes have been big on this. When I used to buy stuff from GNC, they would have Tribulus in some of the products to help boost the testosterone and aid people that were working out. It was even funny, they even put some herbs in these synthetic crazy things from GNC and other places, but they'll use some botanicals in there because they know they're powerful and they work. But you don't need all the synthetic stuff. Tongkat Ali. Tongkat Ali is probably like, up there with pine pollen and deer antler as far as like boosting testosterone levels. They've done studies of showing it boosting testosterone levels in men by up to 3 to 4 times. It's a really powerful one, but it has all sorts of different properties to it too. Very high antioxidant properties, inhibits cellular aging, phytochemicals, antiviral, anti-cancerous, blood pressure. This is an interesting one I read in a study. Is proven twice as potent as aspirin against fevers. It's like, whoa. Never thought Tongkat Ali would be good for fevers, but apparently it is. But what excites people the most, I put, is testosterone boosting, increasing sex drive and function, increasing energy, increasing muscle mass. And some people are concerned, like, I'm not going to take this and go like my sex drive out the roof, and not necessarily. It'll just bring you normally into balance. Again, it's not a synthetic that's going to cause you to. It's not Viagra. It works with your body, but this one especially boosts testosterone, and I think it does have something in it. I read somewhere that where your body has like when it reaches the level of testosterone that it says, okay, we have enough. Sometimes it'll actually inhibit that, so it'll even go higher. So I wouldn't use it long term, but maybe cycle it for men if you want to do some extra weightlifting. This is the only one that I know that could potentially boost the testosterone a little higher than it's supposed to be for long term. But again, you come off of it and take other herbs and you'll be balanced properly. Chaste tree berry. It's known a lot for, I don't know if Vaughn talked about it last week in women's health, but a lot of people use it for women's health because it's anti-estrogen, anti-testosterone. It helps lower testosterone and regulate hormone balances. So some women are too high in estrogen and they're burning up and their cycles are all off and they're bleeding way too much. And this isn't women's health, but sometimes it's a estrogen dominance, and a lot of times it is. Women are hot all the time, they're hot flashes, and their estrogen's all out of whack. And this one can help bring the estrogen down. So these estrogen and testosterone are very acidic, very aggressive hormones, and they need to be in balance. Adrenal glands come way into function in there, so this one's good for that. But for men that have that out of balance testosterone where it's causing inflammation of the prostate, this is a really good one to help suppress the prostate inflammation and prostate cancer. Increases the production of progesterone, which is one of the things that helps balance the estrogen, the testosterone. It stimulates, the way it does this, again, it's not giving your body something. What it is it's stimulating and normalizing the pituitary gland. The pituitary gland is the master gland of the endocrine gland system. So when you're out of whack and your estrogen's too high or testosterone's too high in relation to the other ones, it's stimulating the master gland to go, hey, fix everything, bring it into balance. And that's how it works. So it nourishes, supports the whole endocrine gland system. And I've heard a lot of times, Dr. Morse, who I studied through, he uses chaste tree berry a lot because of the pituitary factor. It's the master gland of the endocrine gland system. So you normalize that, you help normalize all the glands. Mucuna pruriens, if that's how you say it. That's my best shot at it anyways. It's an amazing herbal adaptogen known for a ton of different things. It's best known as a potent aphrodisiac for men and women. It builds fertility, increases like semen volume, sperm count, sperm motility, all that type of stuff. It helps build muscles, great for depression, good for insomnia. So one thing with Mucuna is it's got the precursor to dopamine, L-dopa. So again, when you give your body the plant sterols, it's the precursor to hormones. You give your body L-dopa, it's the precursor to dopamine, which helps you sleep. Helps you sleep deeper. It also helps your body release more HGH, human growth hormone. You guys heard about that's not as popular now, but for a while the athletes were getting busted for using HGH, human growth hormone. We know that the steroids are bad, but HGH is a different form of helps. It's kind of like testosterone. Helps your body recover quicker, build muscle mass quicker. Everybody wants higher HGH. So they were taking HGH injections and getting busted for performance-enhancing drugs. All these guys I don't know, maybe I shouldn't mention names, but it's out there if you look into it. And it was more popular 5 years ago. A lot of especially baseball players were getting busted for it. So this is a precursor to helping your body produce more of its own natural HGH by stimulating, again, the pituitary to increase that production. But dopamine is so good for a lot of things. Increases other hormones like testosterone. But yeah, and I've taken a little bit of Mucuna, mainly for the sleep. And it is crazy. I'll take it and then I'll have this really deep sleep. It's fascinating. Great for men and women. Muira Puama. A lot of people have known about this for a long time. I've used it as an energy tonic, general health improver, but also especially for men and women, the remedy for impotence, sexual insufficiency. It's known by some because it grows down in the Amazon as the Viagra of the Amazon. Very powerful aphrodisiac. So it increases blood flow to the pelvic area. So all the stuff that would help with. And it's also been known to help with stress management, nervous system stimulation, and just general overall health. This is one they use pretty frequently down there. In higher doses, they'll use it for the aphrodisiac stuff, but they'll use it in low doses for people for just a long time for just general health. Sistanche, not sure which way you say it, but this is a fairly newer one to me, but when I learned about it, it's quite interesting. It's almost considered like a rare form of ginseng that has similar but very potent effects, and especially on the immune system, the endocrine gland system, the nervous system, the reproductive system. Quite fascinating when I learned about this. Increases levels of hyaluronic acid, which keeps the skin soft and supple and the joints pain-free. There's a lot of hyaluronic acid supplements out there in the joint products, but this is actually increasing your body's level of it. And it's also been known, the Okinawans in Japan are known for their longevity, and they say that this is one of the herbs that they attribute a lot of their longevity to. So it's interesting, the skin part of it, because I've heard reviews and seen studies where people's skin starts looking better, and after prolonged use, you're not going to use it for a week and look 20 again. But people that use it for months, they really start noticing, wow, my skin's yeah, more soft and looks better and glowing more, and but very powerful for like athletes, men, boosting libido, boosting sexual function. It's known as like a powerful sexual rejuvenator, increasing fertility, healthy circulation, strength and athletic performance, all those good things. So yeah, not as well known, but there's some good sources out there that have it. Epimedium. Epimedium is known as horny goatweed. If you guys have heard of that. It gets its name really interesting because they noticed wherever it was that this was growing. This guy was a farmer, had goats, and this one goat of his would always go over to this one plant and eat it all the time, and he would go crazy on the female goats. So therefore they named it horny goatweed. Yeah, and lo and behold, they do studies on it and show that it's very powerful for men and boosting that aspect. But they've used it for centuries as a natural aid for both physical, mental vitality. It's not just for that. It's got high antioxidant properties, helps regulate hormone function, protects the heart, maintains brain health, balances the immune system, anti-aging, energizing, libido stimulating. For men, it's the encouraging of the blood flow, and the plant sterols too that help produce more proper hormones. So that's all the herbs I decided to talk about today. I mean, with every class it's hard because I got to choose which ones to talk about, and there's literally thousands of herbs, and each country has different ones that grow naturally. So we try to understand the best ones from each country and talk about those. But there's tons of ones that do awesome things. Some people always get hung up on when I talk about a bunch of herbs, like, my gosh, I want to take all of them. Where do I even start? It's a good question. And so that's another reason I wanted to talk about a couple products, because the most powerful things is all of these herbs are good, and they're all going to help. So at any level you start taking them, it's good. The more potent ones are in liquid extracted concentrate form. And I like it best when it's in a formula mixed with others because they work a little differently and they work synergistically together. So I've got a couple formulas that I'm going to talk to. And again, I'm not here to push products. It doesn't affect me at all if people buy these products or don't buy these products. But I've done so much like trying different things and trying different herbs. And I do use a lot of just raw powdered herbs in my smoothies. And I love that. You get the whole thing. But sometimes the medicinal qualities can be a little bit more potent in the extracts. I mean, they are, not can be. They are very more potent. They're just concentrating it down, that medicinal part of that herb. And so I love using the powders just consistently, but for that extra kick, using the concentrated extracts and the formulas. So just a couple of recommendations for men. I put it into 3 different sections on gland strengthening / testosterone increasing, prostate health, and sexual function desire. So for the gland strengthening and testosterone, some great products are Dr. Morse's Gland Tonic and his Ultimate Immune Tonic. So I know the one's called Ultimate Immune Tonic, but it's almost as if they could have called it anything, because it's got some of the most powerful things that, yeah, it boosts the immune function really powerfully, but it boosts everything really powerfully. So the Gland Tonic is like their powerful, full glandular, hitting all the areas from prostate to adrenals to, it's got Hisho Wu, it's got, I had a list of everything in it, but I don't know where I laid that list. But it's got like 7 or 8 different things that are really powerful. The thing about, and it does have deer antler in it too, which is interesting. We sell some pure deer antler products, which are great, but I like how some of these incorporate the deer antler with the other stuff, because deer antler is so powerful. Ultimate Immune Tonic, the number one thing in it is deer antler. It's a lot of deer antler. It's ginseng. It's astragalus, schizandra. These are like all like the top herbs in every category that you're just cramming into a tincture. And there's only like 4 or 5, so each one is very high amounts of it in this Ultimate Immune Tonic. We don't have it in yet, if anybody's wanted, but we have it on the way. We just started carrying Dr. Morse's products because they're the most powerful products on the market, herbal products. They are. He goes way above and beyond. It's crazy how powerful his stuff is. But also we have a product, Raw Forest Foods. It's their endocrine strengthening formula. So it's specifically for the endocrine glands. And it's awesome because it's a unique product that has pine pollen extract and then other herbs. So it's got like Cordyceps mushroom, it's got Panax ginseng, it's got astragalus, it's got, I think, Hisho Wu maybe. Can't remember, but a good mix of potent things. It has the pine pollen in it, though, as well. So the Ultimate Immune has the deer antler, but not the pine pollen. This one has the pine pollen. So it's just different ways of going about it. A great potent formula. Maca Librium. I talk about maca and how great it is, and I love the taste of just pure maca in my smoothies. But for a while, I was trying to figure out where they started to come out with maca extracts and what's the one they called a different form of gelatinized maca that are supposed to be more potent. So for a while I was like, let me figure out what the strongest one on the market is for this maca. And I found a company that they went down and did a couple years of tests in maca grows naturally in Peru. And you go down there, most people only know maca as just maca, but there's actually 13 different types of maca. There's a black, a gold, a red. So they went down there and found all these different types and did tests on each one individually and found that some had slightly different properties. Some were a little bit better for women, some were a little bit better for men, some were better for post-menopausal women, some were better for younger women. So what they did is they formulated 4 products, 3 for women, 1 for men, and then made a super concentrated formula. So it's 10 times concentrated into little pills. And they wanted to put it in pills instead of like a container too, because with a container, it can get oxygenized every time you open the container. So they have it in vegetable capsules. It never denatures with oxygen and 10 times concentrated, and they're specifically formulated. So the Maca Librium is the men's one. And I love that stuff. It makes, you use that for a little while consistently. It boosts your function so well. But it's got one for younger women, hormone balancing and all that stuff, and one for perimenopausal and one for postmenopausal. A very powerful product and the strongest, in my opinion, that I know about maca on the market. And if there's better ones, let me know. But I've done some research, and that's the main one I've found that's the most potent. Tongkat Ali, and so we have tincture, we have capsules. There's a couple good tinctures that we have of the Tongkat Ali. But we got this new product in by Raw Forest Foods. They're capsules that are like a 200-to-1 concentrate. Very concentrated Tongkat Ali capsules. And so that can be very powerful. But I do like liquids too. And so we have one by them and one by another company that people can take and get that testosterone boosting. Pine pollen. I mentioned the endocrine strengthening, which has pine pollen in it with a bunch of other stuff. But we have a straight pine pollen tincture by a couple companies and pine pollen powder. One company also has a pine pollen extracted powder. So those are great for that. And also the Mucuna, we have that in a concentrated tincture or extract. So these would be all my top ones for men's gland strengthening, testosterone increasing. Very great products. And there's a lot more, but those are like my top ones. Prostate health. These would be the main ones I'd go with. Dr. Morse's Prostate Tonic, very powerful. Also Prostate Aid by Cedar Bear. We've used that for a long time, and it's a great formula. All of these prostate ones are, of course, going to have the saw palmetto, but along with some other key ones. I don't have the breakdown of what's in all of them, but they're all really good. Pumpkinol is from North American Urban Spice, and it's a very great, pure, concentrated form of the pumpkin seed oil. I think we do have another one actually by Flora, pumpkin seed oil as well. But those are great for men to take. The Bell Easy Flow Tea. It's called Easy Flow Tea for men because what happens when the prostate gets large? It cuts off the urethra and puts pressure on the bladder. And so men are getting up. I know a man that he's got to get up every hour on the hour through the night to go pee. And he doesn't pee that much. It's because of the inflammation of the prostate putting pressure. So it's called Easy Flow Tea because it's a prostate formula. But it's a great formula that people use, and it's got the saw palmetto, but it's got about 8 or 9 or 10 different herbs that are all good for the urinary tract, for inflammation, for the prostate. So that's a great prostate formula. For sexual function and desire, the Raw Aphrodisiac, that's by Raw Forest Foods. It's a really great formula. It's got the deer antler, it's got pine pollen, but it's got a lot of those that we talked about, the Mucuna, the epimedium, the I think it's got Tongkat Ali in it. I think it's got Tribulus. I don't know. I might be off on a few of these, but it's got like 6 of the main ones that we talked about for men's sexual function, all in that formula. It's really great. Same thing with libido support from cedar bear. It's another great product that has a lot of those. It's got concentrated maca and horny goatweed and Mucuna and some of those. And then the Forza, it's another similar product, but it's in pill form. The other 2 are concentrated liquids. The Forza is in pill form. It's a similar formula, but it also has the addition, not quite as many herbs, but it's got the addition of L-arginine. L-arginine is a amino acid. It's natural, and it's a vasodilator. It increases blood flow. So, of course, you can understand why that's good for men. A lot of times it's a blood flow issue. So, yeah, those are all great products for the issues that men are facing today. At least some of them. So yeah, hopefully that helps and brings some light on that. I wish I could talk more about this, but I think that's about all the time I got with you. So yeah, thanks. And if you guys have questions, I'll answer questions. Any questions?
I have several questions.
Several questions. All right, well, one at a time, and I'll do my best.
If a guy's been getting testosterone shots, I'm sure I already know the answer just because I know the body to heal itself, but let's say he's been getting testosterone shots and he wants to like go more natural. If he gets off the shots, can everything be like revived and back to normal?
Yeah, great question. I'll repeat it for the camera just so they can hear it. So if a guy's taking testosterone shots, synthetic testosterone, and he wants to get off of it, and obviously some of the glands are going to be atrophied at that point, not producing at the level. Can they be regenerated and brought back to the level it's supposed to? And definitely, absolutely. We've seen it time and time again, and you give the body the right things, and it will start functioning back the way. So even if they're pretty atrophied and not producing hardly any testosterone, yeah, you get them off the synthetic things, you get the diet right, give them some of these herbs, that's going to come back. It's hard to say how long because each case is going to be different, but absolutely, he'll come back to functioning totally normal.
Awesome. So let's say a guy comes into my store and he's like, you know, I just don't have a lot of energy and I'm weak or whatever, and so I always go to, like, my mind goes to the vitamins and minerals and stuff, but like if it's this, are there any like telltale signs of this is what he needs, or does it not even matter and I should just go ahead and take him to the...
I'm not sure I know how to answer that specifically because every case is different, and you're asking, you know, sometimes when men are asking, I got low energy, low this, like where to go with that, and you're talking about sometimes going to the vitamins and minerals, and of course that's a good foundation. Vitamins and minerals, foundation for everything, which mainly comes from our food, but a lot of people need supplements too because they're not getting enough from their foods. But from there, I mean, it's kind of hard to say, and anytime you're strengthening the endocrine gland system, you're going to boost energy levels. Especially men that are adrenals aren't working properly. You're not producing enough testosterone. I mean, anytime they're weakened, all the glands are going to be weak. So there's a difference between. I didn't put really any like highly stimulating herbs in here. Some people want that, like, I want to take something now and I want to be jacked, energized, you know, because they're used to like a Red Bull or a 5-hour energy. It's got all these high caffeines and so it's educating people too that they can take a quick pick-me-up full of caffeine. It's only going to actually damage their system more in the long run, and they might be more energized for a minute, a couple hours. They're going to crash and their glands are going to be even weaker. So you need to nourish it, and sometimes that takes time. Yeah, so each case is going to be different, but always giving stuff for the endocrine glands is going to be powerful for all of that stuff.
Okay.
So hopefully that helps.
That's good. Yeah. The Tongkat Ali, so did you say that you should take that all the time and just...
There's different opinions on the Tongkat Ali, so as far as taking it long term, and my opinion and a lot of people's opinion is it shouldn't be taken long term. It should only be cycled on and off, like month on, at least 2 weeks off. That's my opinion. Some people say it's okay to take long term and that the body will, if you're healthy and you're eating properly and all that, it'll work itself out.
Yeah.
So I don't know. There's different studies and different things out there, but in my opinion, just for that one to be safe, I would cycle on and off of it as a man.
You know, you mentioned one that has like a 201 extract, so I was like, well, then this might answer my question, but like, can anyone just take all these herbs at the same time as much as they want, or do you recommend someone getting a blend, because I'm sure the company has done the research, you need more of this and don't combine too much of this, or does it?
You can't really get too much of most all herbs, and there's a few in particular that you could maybe do. And I didn't talk about like yohimbe in here because there's a lot of people know about that as a potent aphrodisiac, and you got to be careful with like yohimbe. I didn't talk about it because of this the negative side of it. There are a couple out there that you got to be careful with, but most of the ones, and like all the ones I talked about, like you can take as much as you want. Your body's just going to know what to do with it, and anything it doesn't need, it'll get rid of. And I like formulas, but Tongkat Ali, that's one I would it's not in a lot of formulas, and if it is, it's like a sexual function formula, so that's one I would be okay with taking by itself, and then taking other things with it also.
And you would say that yohimbe is similar to the Tongkat Ali, is like, don't take it all the time.
Well, yohimbe is like a really stimulant. So people notice they take too high, they take too much of it, they get the fluttery hearts and they start feeling weird, and there's just a lot of, I would just not take very much of yohimbe. It's in some of the formulas, small doses, and that's fine. I wouldn't mess with yohimbe, and it doesn't work like Tongkat Ali. It works a little differently, but aphrodisiac and all that. But yeah, you definitely wouldn't want to take it very much or very consistently.
You mentioned all this stuff is happening sooner and sooner with kids. So like preteens and teenagers, totally fine to take these herbs for?
Man, that's another good question. So yeah, I mean, it is happening sooner and sooner with, I talked about the younger and younger generations it's affecting, and so you're talking about teenagers and kids, and most of these are going to be fine for kids. I mean, I would say like the Tongkat Ali, stuff like that, that's really going to shoot testosterone levels up. I mean, they probably don't need it, and I wouldn't, and even if they do, I would go to something else a little more gentle than Tongkat Ali until they're at least over 18 or 22, or at least over 18 on the Tongkat Ali. They might be fine taking it younger. So I guess I don't know the complete answer to that, but just my thought process is, at least on the Tongkat Ali, I would wait till over 18. Most of these other ones, it's going to be completely fine to take. Just trying to see if there's any other ones that I would. All the other ones are going to be fine, in my opinion, to take before. I would just caution a little bit with the Tongkat Ali. Because I wouldn't want to throw their already raging hormones more out of balance. I don't know that it would, but just a caution on that.
Okay. That's actually all I have. So.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, great questions. Any other questions or comments? Or all right, well, thanks, guys.